Kyle was a talented swordsman who became a hero and defeated the Demon King, but in the process, he lost everyone he ever cared about. But when a mysterious crystal sends him 4 years into the past, he trains to become the strongest so that he can rewrite his fate. On the continent of Lunders, two opposing forces live. On the right, there are the species blessed by the god of light that include humans, dwarves, and elves. And on the left, there are demons who are blessed by the god of darkness. These two forces have always fought each other for thousands of years, but 300 years ago, a rather peaceful demon king took the throne and stopped all aggression towards the humanoids. Humans and other species grew used to this temporary peace, and they were not ready for things to change. In the 5th month of 2826, a new demon king took the throne, and under his command, the demon army launched an all-out attack on the humanoids, which would later be called the Great Invasion. The ruthless invasion destroyed many humanoid kingdoms quickly, and even the largest empire could not protect itself. As the situation grew even more hopeless, the humanoids decided to take a desperate measure by pulling their remaining forces and engaging the demons in an all-out war. While the army fought against the demon army and his generals, a group of their strongest warriors were sent to infiltrate the Demon King's castle and assassinate him. Kyle is the leader of the assassination team that includes his best friend Theron and the elf mage Oza. As they are running through a hallway, an explosion suddenly separates them and kills the random soldiers going with them. Theon gets injured from the explosion, but as he sees two demons standing guard in front of a chained female demon, he realizes that he should keep them busy for the sake of their mission. He tells Kyle and Oza to go ahead because he will catch up with them after he is finished here. And Kyle knows that his friend plans to sacrifice his life to stop the two demons. While Farron fights the two demons alone, Kyle and Oza reach the throne room. Kyle gulps up some super concentrated Roy juice so that he can fight at full potential.
And Oza looks sad because she knows that he is going to lose his life because of the side effects of the medicine after its effects end. Kyle then opens the door to the throne room and finds a glowing gemstone in the middle. He's curious about it, so he decides to check it out, when suddenly Oza warns him that an attack is coming from above. 0217 Kyle manages to block some of the dark orbs with his sword, but he gets hit by the rest of them, forcing him to his knees. Next, a bigger and more menacing orb comes towards him while he can't move, but Oza steps up to defend him. She uses a magic barrier to protect themselves, but the orb penetrates it and starts consuming her. Oza just smiles at Kyle one last time before she is erased from existence. And just then, the Demon King descends from the ceiling. Kyle gets up to face him, turning his rage into power, and he charges ahead, slashing the dark orbs sent by the Demon King. However, he can't do any damage because the Demon King is protected by a dense layer of mana. Kyle is forced to step back because of the Demon King's ruthless attack, and he hides behind a pillar. The Demon King simply uses the Void Orb to eat away the pillar itself, leaving Kyle no place to hide. He is pushed back and severely injured by the Dark Orbs, and then he asks the AI chatbot in his sword's magic stone about the strange attack earlier. The upgraded version of Alexa tells him that it was an unblockable high-tier magic that destroys everything it touches. Kyle realizes that he can't win unless he is ready to throw away his life, and he tells Alexa to release the power of the gemstone. Alexa obeys his command, and the power of the gemstone covers Kyle in a bright aura that automatically repels all attacks from the Demon King. He dashes ahead at full speed, shattering the Demon King's blade and stabbing him through the chest. But the Demon King counterattacks and deals a fatal wound to him too. Kyle just keeps pushing forward till the magic stone in his sword shatter. But that was enough to destroy the Demon King, who explodes into a bunch of black feathers. Kyle thinks that it is finally over, and now he can die in peace. He thinks about how everything he ever wanted to protect is now gone, including his family, his friends, and even the girl he loved. He falls to the ground, but then a dark feather falls next to him and vanishes. And the very next moment, the magic gemstone starts glowing. Kyle gets up and realizes that if the crystal goes out of control, the results can be disastrous. He gets up and walks towards it, stumbling at each step. He grabs the magic crystal, and suddenly a magic circle appears around him. When Kyle opens his eyes next, he finds that he is in his room and his town is still unharmed. He starts crying, thinking that this is a dream before he goes to the afterlife. But then his childhood friend Lee comes to his room to wake him up. She gets concerned when she sees Kyle crying, but he can't control his emotions on seeing her again. He hugs her tightly, and Lee the Dispob turns red from embarrassment. Kyle doesn't know that she is real, so his hands go a bit too far south. And then he loses his balance, ending on top of Lee while she is lying on the bed. That is too much for her to handle, so she throws Kyle back and then hits him with a rib-shattering punch that leaves him gasping for air. She screams at him to at least buy her dinner before getting to second base and then runs away from the room. Only then does Kyle notice that he can feel pain, which means this is not a dream. He then suddenly notices that the red crystal from the Demon King's castle is still with him, and he wonders what is happening. He finds that he looks young and has not suffered any injuries yet, which confuses him further, but then he begins suspecting that he might have returned to the past. He immediately shoots down the idea because time travel is impossible or someone would have shown up at Stephen Hawking's party. Suddenly he gets distracted from his thoughts because of his hunger, and he finds a lavish meal laid out for him. He knows that Lee cooked it because neither he nor his mom can cook, and he is glad to have her. Since he is eating delicious homemade food for the first time in years, he kind of overeats and finishes the whole thing, and when his best friend Theon arrives there, he freaks out. He asks Kyle if he's preparing to beat Luffy in an eating competition. He is disappointed because he wanted to eat the delicious-looking food too, and Kyle abruptly asks him about the date today when he learns that it is the 5th month of the year 2823. Kyle freaks out because that means he has really returned to the past. Thuron then reminds him that today is his birthday and he will forgive him for eating all the food as his birthday gift for him. 0628. Theon decides to beg Lee to make him something to eat, and Kyle decides to get some answers from the most knowledgeable person he knows. He enters a storeroom next to his house and enters the basement, which has been turned into a library by his mother. As soon as Kyle sees her, he is reminded of the trauma he faced when he saw her dead body in the past, but snaps out of it when she speaks to him. Kyle tells his mom that he has a question related to magic, and since she is one of the handful of archmages in the entire country, almost no one knows more about magic than her. His mom gets happy on hearing this, and then Kyle gets to the point, asking if there are any spells to turn back time. She tells him that there are spells that can manipulate time, but they are practically impossible to use because of the enormous amount of mana they require. She says that even the greatest magician in history could not turn back time by 1 second. And Kyle asks if it would be possible if someone used a magic tool to store mana. His mom tells him that it is a nice idea, but gathering that amount of mana will take at least 1,000 years. Kyle asks, what if someone uses the forbidden right to turn people's life force into magic power? And his mom thinks about it deeply, saying that it will be inefficient too. She believes that at least half of the continent's population needs to be sacrificed to generate that much mana. And on top of that, there is no magic tool that can store such a huge amount of mana. However, there is one exception. Kyle's mom pulls out a book and tells him about the heart of the legendary divine dragon that was once used by the ancient magic kingdom of Zarls to prosper. However, the power of the dragon's heart eventually ran out and the kingdom was destroyed because they could not cope with it. His mom tells him that the dragon's heart can store enough magic to travel back to time, but it went missing around 1,000 years ago when the ancient kingdom died out. She believes that demons might have found it already, and Kyle can't reveal that her theory is right. Later, Kyle goes to his favorite place to watch over his town, wondering why the Demon King was storing mana to return to the past. Just then, Lee arrives there and she is still angry about the morning. Kyle falls on his knees and apologizes, saying that he only acted out because he had a really worrying dream this morning. Lee realizes that the dream involved her dying, and she decides to forgive Kyle because of that. She then wishes Kyle happy birthday, and he is immediately reminded of the invasion of the demon army that hit his hometown first because they live in the border region. The demons burned their town to the ground, killing everyone, and that is how he lost Lee. He swore to get revenge for her, but this time he decides to protect her and everyone else whom he loves. He declares that he will change his fate and the fate of the world no matter what it takes. That night, he notes down all major events that are going to happen soon to help him prepare for the future. But he knows that it is not enough. He thinks that he can start his journey by resuming his training and heads to the woods to see his current skill level. The first thing he does is conjure up a mental image of the Demon King and tries fighting his memories of him. The Demon King turns out to be the imaginary friend Last Boss, and Kyle physically feels his attacks when he tries to deflect them with a sword. He can't keep up with the swift attacks of the Demon King because his body lacks practice, so he decides to buff himself up with magic to make up for it. He casts spells to increase his speed and agility and finds that his spells are much more effective now. He doesn't think too hard about it and rushes straight towards the Demon Lord, who acts like a stormtrooper at first, missing all his shots, but then hits Kyle with an unpredictable headshot. Kyle falls to the ground, realizing that even with increased magic, his body can't keep up with skills and he needs to work hard if he wants to change the future.